Hey, welcome into another episode of Out of Touch. The whole band is back together. John, Dustin, and Mitchell. We don't have I guess I was going to say, do we have a band name? But I guess collectively we are Out of Touch. So I don't know what kind of band that would be if all three of us were in one. I guess maybe an alternative kind of indie type of band. But nonetheless, we're back for another episode of the podcast. Fresh off of the Thanksgiving holiday. A lot of stuff potentially on the docket today. But first of all, welcome in, guys. Dustin, welcome back. You were the one who was missing last week. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I was going to say, it's been like 3 weeks since we've all been together. So this is like a little family reunion.
Mitchell, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. Just hung out. We were talking pressing the record button. I've got some family in town right now, like 12 feet from me. So my Thanksgiving is technically right now because I'm finally getting to see some family. Didn't really do much. Day of, went to see some friends, but it wasn't anything big.
Dustin, you did a lot of traveling during Thanksgiving. Would you hit up, not St. Louis, or right? Did you go to St. Louis or did you just kind of hit up all over the place?
Yeah, I was in St. Louis for most of it, but we decided to go I guess it wasn't last second. It was probably the week before. We decided to go up to Camp Randall for the Nebraska-Wisconsin game.
So was that your first time at Camp Randall?
It was. Let me tell you, it's really cool.
Yeah.
So how is Jump Around?
It's cooler than you think.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
Like on TV doesn't do it justice, because I was that guy who's like, we see this every time. Like, they show it on TV, they just stick around. I'm tired of seeing kids jump around. John, it's literally the entire stadium.
I would love it.
And it's contagious. Like, everybody does it. It was so cool. And then you just look at it's like you know the wave pools that you go to in the summertime at a bunch of a water park? That's kind of what it looks like. You just see all of these waves of people going up and down. It was really cool.
Yeah, all you need to know about dude, I got to tell this. All you need to know about the contagiousness of Jump Around, we played at Camp Randall. I'm on the sideline in an Indiana jersey, and I'm jumping right with them. Like, I didn't care what we were talking about in the huddle. That was one of the coolest, most just electric environments I had ever been a part of. That little beat starts, the place goes nuts. And you can feel the vibrations. I don't know if you could feel it in the stands, but on the field, the ground was rumbling. It was awesome.
Jump Around and the Kinnick Wave are the two college football traditions that I will always be jealous that Indiana does not have. And unfortunately, they don't even really have their own traditions in general. They need something. Yeah. But those are the two that if I could steal them for Indiana, it would be one of those two. Just flip a coin, because Jump Around's the most fun. Kinnick is the Kinnick Wave is the most emotional. Even from TV, you can get emotional watching the Kinnick Wave. It was whenever Indiana played their opening game at Kinnick, even though that season ended up being horrendous.
They lost like 44-3 or something.
It was terrible.
Yeah,
they didn't score a touchdown in the game. I think they had 2 field goals or something like that. But either way, yeah. My Thanksgiving, I want to go ahead and say something. I had a lot of family that listens to this podcast ask why I never told any of the stories about like Thanksgivings in the past where someone maybe got into an argument or something like that, because I teased that in a previous episode, and I told them, and for those who didn't, I guess, get a chance to hear me say why, I just didn't want to be that person to call somebody out, and I wasn't going to use anybody's names. But I think it was probably in best interest to not mention that kind of story. And it was a bad idea in general to try to take the content down that path of something negative, because really Thanksgiving was great. And I think this past Thanksgiving was probably one of the most memorable, at least on my side of the family, that I can remember. It was just one of the most wholesome gatherings I guess we've had in a while. So
wow,
I really enjoyed my holiday weekend, if you will.
That's what I like to hear. You got a little
good stuff.
That was a little brightness in your face when you were talking about
it.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Good for
you.
I do Christmas have in a few weeks.
Right before my mom gave me a call. She's a listener, and she always gets a shout out on this show. I have to say, I couldn't remember when we were talking about our favorite foods at Thanksgiving, who makes the corn casserole. And man, was my mom offended that I couldn't remember that she made it.
Oh, man.
So this is me. Sorry. You make it. Everyone loves it. It's the first thing gone. This is me saying an apology to my mother.
So can I chime in on the Thanksgiving food real quick?
Of
Just
course.
because I didn't get to last week. This won't be long. Is macaroni and cheese a Thanksgiving dish? Yes or no?
Yeah, we had it.
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm glad that we're all on the same
So who says no?
Some people just don't have macaroni and cheese as part of their like holiday meal.
Yeah.
And that's not uncommon. A lot of people don't. My family just always did. And as I branched out and been in the South, the Midwest, Florida, not many people do macaroni and cheese at Thanksgiving or at Christmas. And I thought that I was just the odd family. So I have to ask that question every time.
No. We're with you. We stand together.
Okay.
Before we dive into the rest of what we got on the docket today, quick reminder, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. We are still trying to march to 100 subscribers. We had a nice little push the past few weeks, but since then, things have kind of slowed a little bit. So if you're watching this or listening to this on Spotify, head over to YouTube, just hit the subscribe button on the Out of Touch channel, which is under my name. And maybe that's part of the issue. The name of the show is Out of Touch, but the YouTube channel is my name, John Alden. So
that is confusing. Can you change that?
Yeah.
This is a little meeting on air. You need to change that.
See, the reason that I kept it my name is because there's other things on there that aren't necessarily Out of Touch. And maybe in the future, if I post things that are on my own, it won't necessarily be Out of Touch either. They can all just kind of be under the singular umbrella. That's the reason I made it my name in the first place. So
yeah, but
either way, maybe we're talking about it enough here in the early on that people will get it. That go to the John Alden YouTube channel. The logo is currently the Out of Touch logo, the brown background with the the finger. Not the middle finger, but it is a pointer finger.
I was going to say the index finger, not the finger.
The index finger. So yeah,
how did
hit
you
subscribe.
come up with that logo, by the way?
How did I come up with it? So I didn't draw it or anything. I found it on the site that I use to make graphics, which is Canva.
It's a touch. That's pretty sweet.
It is a touch. It's a finger that is touching the background.
Bravo,
I guess.
Bravo to you.
There you go.
Bravo to you. We need to give you more
subscribe. Get us to 100 by December, or not by December, by the end of December 31st specifically. Because if you do that, we will live stream our first episode of January. And maybe that's not something you're interested in, but if you are, then subscribe.
Maybe it'll be from the golf course.
And while you're at it, send us a message on the hotline, 502-830-9195. And I think I need to start giving. I had people also at Thanksgiving say that I need to create a prompt, because people say they want to call in, but they don't always know what they want to call in about. I guess that's fine. I haven't always given a bunch of direction. I've thrown ideas out there, but maybe if I think of something by the end of this episode, then I'll throw that out there. But if not, I'll come prepared with something else in the future for people to call in for. So hotline number 502-830-9195. Let's get the rest of this episode started. We've got plenty of things that I want to get into, but I'm going to start a tradition right now. And if it works out, if it's fun, if it's funny, if it's a good time, then this is going to be how we start every episode from here until the next 50 episodes. And here's what we're going to do. I've got funny town names in every state. We're starting with Alabama. And I'm curious. I'm guarantee you, unless you live in the state, that we start with Alabama is the first one, because we're going to go in alphabetical order. But it's interesting to think about states anywhere really that just have town names that are completely out of left field or out of touch, if you will. By the way, is it dumb anytime I make an out of touch joke on this podcast? I feel like it's super meta and weird.
I was offended when you said out of left field and not out of touch first.
Yeah.
So,
ditto.
With that being said, we're starting with Alabama. We're going to work our way down the rest of the state alphabet, if you will, and go through a couple just funny town names. A good way to break the ice for each episode. So
can I maybe we don't do this today, but can I add something to that? I really like the idea.
Sure.
I think we should include the high school, like their mascot. Like in Indiana, for example, there's the Rockville Rocks or the Speedway Spark Plugs or the Jimtown Jimmies.
The Frankfurt Hot Dogs.
Exactly. That's the
maybe that could be something separate because these are just town names, not high
Well,
schools.
imagine if you found a funny town name that also leaned into a funny mascot.
Hey.
Now you've hit the jackpot.
This is what this entire show could be, because I want John to make up fake town names on his own, and then we guess if it's an actual town name or if it's a fake one.
You know, that could be.
Maybe you give us 4 options.
Yeah, actually. Maybe we can change it as we go. Today I'm just gonna list them, or we can react to them as I say them. But maybe that's a good idea down the road, fake or versus real town names. But a couple or a few from Alabama. Burnt Corn. There is a little town named Burnt Corn, and legend has it that Indians used to store their corn in this town until enemies came and burned down their settlements. So
nice.
Evidently
Started
that's
with
how
real
they got the name
positive.
Burnt Corn.
Yeah, let's start this town on a real positive note.
Frog Eye. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Both of these, they're not really things that you would ever expect to be the name of a town.
Burnt corn.
I thought that
an animal.
Yeah, burnt corn could have really been anything. I was hoping that it wasn't everyone starved.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be what came next, which is tough.
Here we go.
It's very tough.
The unincorporated community known as Ball Play.
They got some ball plays.
Yeah, Ball Play.
Do we know? Is there a reason why it's called that, or no explanation behind ball play?
See, some of these when I drop down, they give me good explanations. Other ones they don't. But I can imagine living in a place called Ball Play. Play ball different, but not ball play.
Those are two.
If you're, I ball play. Kind of doesn't sound as good when I say it like that.
It doesn't sound good when anyone.
No. I'm trying to.
It just sounds like. I don't think I would be comfortable typing that into my Google search.
No.
No, I wouldn't. I think you're going to get 100% results of a certain kind. And
you will too.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's you have to be very specific and type in the unincorporated territory of Ball Play, not just Ball Play, Alabama.
Yeah,
that's going to be. There's going to be a theme.
You're listening. Definitely
do
not search it.
Next up, we have Bacon Level, Alabama, the most delicious town in America. And guess what? It got its name from, it's called Bacon Level, literally spelled like the food. And it got its name from, apparently, there was some stolen bacon, like found on ground level, whatever that means. And they named the town after that. I don't know if that's just something somebody made up or what, but that's what it says.
That's pretty.
I'm on board with this.
I'm
on board with. I was on board until the dog just pulled my cord away. Apparently he wants some bacon. I don't know what ground level means, and why are we burning down corn sheds, and why are we stealing bacon? There's a theme in Alabama here, and I'm not a fan of it.
Some of these I'm just gonna say the names and just roll through it. And the last one before we do that, the bottle. I'm looking at this explanation here. The bottle was inspired by an actual building that was shaped by a bottle in this town. So they named the town after the building, and it's called The Bottle. The Bottle, Alabama.
How many people live in this town?
It's a good question. I'm not too sure.
I feel like there's some pretty sparsely populated.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's the South. Anytime we do a state from the South, you're going to have some weird stuff. What else we have? Smut Eye, Pansy, Intercourse. My goodness.
Wait.
Equality.
You're just going to skim over Intercourse?
What more is there to say?
Also, there's also a place in Pennsylvania named, golly, the dog's tail keeps, hold on. Got to take a break here. There's also an Intercourse, Pennsylvania. So
sister cities.
Yeah, I'm curious if they're founded by anyone.
Married cities.
In married cities, maybe they have mutual intercourse. Hopefully, it's mutual, consensual,
Oh
not
my
mutual,
gosh.
consensual. Oh man!
All
So
right,
there
hot
you go.
start. Hot start.
Funny town names in Alabama. But there you go. Another thing, one last thing I forgot to mention with Thanksgiving. Every year, and this has been going on. Again, I'm a grown adult. I'm 26 years old. My parents still give me chocolate advent calendars.
That's awesome.
And, they continued that with this Thanksgiving. Is that something? Am I too old to be peeling off a chocolate door, or excuse me, peeling the little plastic door off of a chocolate advent calendar and eating the chocolate on the days leading up to Christmas?
I don't think you can ever be too old for that. It's way better than me eating the Halloween candy that we still have because we got no Halloween trick-or-treaters. Just digging into the big bowl and eating them by the handful.
I was doing that a few weeks ago. Ours is gone because I devoured it so quickly.
When I was in German class in high school, like when John was just being born.
Yeah, right. Grown man John.
I'm grown. We used to buy those calendars because our teacher would sell them for probably like $3 to $5. And my two friends that listen to this, Ed and Ken, will probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But she used to sell them for like $3 to $5. And we used to buy like stacks of them and then just rip the entire thing out and dump all the chocolate on the desk and eat all the chocolate at once. So I would probably still do it that way if I was you. I don't even know if I'd have the self-discipline to do it one at a time, one day at a time.
Some people think that the chocolates in these things taste horrible. And I guess maybe if you get a bad batch or maybe like a stale batch or something, it just sometimes I've had a bad one, but 9 times out of 10 they're good, I feel like.
Yeah, sometimes they're not good. It's not good chocolate and they're pretty cheap, but I think for the most part they're fine.
All right, another random thing, and we'll get into something that's a little more lengthy after this. And this is interesting. I haven't prepared you all for this, but I was listening to a podcast the other day, and Michael Rosenbaum, who is a native of Indiana, where all of us either have lived or have family that still lives there, and he had mentioned that, and maybe he was joking. I honestly couldn't tell, but apparently, pooping with the door open is a thing that people from Indiana do, and it's like specific, and maybe not just specific to Indiana, but like it's an Indiana thing, pooping with the door open. How do you guys feel about
You're
that?
just going for a gutter day, huh? You want everything to be in the gutter. We can't live high society. We're thankful for things. You talk about how glorious your Thanksgiving was, wholesome, and now you're talking about Intercourse, Alabama, and pooping with the door open.
Listen, I write things down as I hear them, as I see them, and I want to mention them because I'm curious. Pooping with the door open. I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and say this right now. And obviously I live in Kentucky now. I poop with the door open, not in public, but in my house.
I'm glad to know that.
Yeah, like, I'm not going to go to a public restroom and leave the stall door open. And if you do that, I don't know what state's famous for that.
That's a serial killer. That's a
serial killer. A problem.
I think you're at least halfway there if you do it in your house. That's a weird move, bro.
So you don't, even if it's just you and your wife, or Dustin, you and your significant other.
Yes.
So you will never poop with the door open with your wife in the house.
Close the door. She listens to this. I don't even want to talk about it. Respect. Like
I think there's a level of comfortability.
You're wild for that.
So evidently, based on these early reactions, this is not an Indiana thing. It might just be a me thing.
Where did you grow up, with or without an outhouse? Like,
dog, you grew up in the river.
I grew up in a town that was next to a river, but I never.
Now wait. So I'm going to say how this goes for me, and then I'm going to ask a clarifying question here for John. I don't know what my fear is, that somebody's just going to barge into my apartment or house. I lock the door every time I go to the bathroom.
Same.
Like it's just out of habit. I close and lock the door every time, especially if I'm going to be in there a while. Now, my clarifying question to you is: I don't judge people for what they do. If you're at home alone, I get it, whatever. But you even do that with your wife in the house?
Well,
Like,
I was gonna say, like, you
Bananas
mentioned
move.
like being alone in your apartment, and it made me think. I think there are more times where I've been by myself at the house where I've shut the door, as opposed to with the wife being in the house.
You shut
really?
the door more when you're by yourself.
Yeah, well, I hear.
Think
I'm not
about
gonna
what
throw
you're
anyone else
saying.
under the bus, but I tell you what,
That
there's
is crazy.
sometimes people have conversations while they're on the toilet.
See, this goes back to me
What?
when I tell you that I am not confident doing anything. Do you remember when we talked about like going to this? This is relevant, Mitchell. I'm not just throwing stuff
What
out
have we
there.
become?
Do you remember when we talked about like using a urinal or a trough in a stadium? And I can't. There's stage
Yes.
fright there. So for like, I have to shut the door, otherwise nothing's getting accomplished, and it's going to be unpleasant for my stomach for a while. So I don't need anybody to look in. If other people want to do it, then that's fine. I don't care. But I personally cannot do it.
Yeah, I don't care that
this
Dustin's
reminds
not
me.
judging
I
you.
gotta say this now before I'll forget it. Hit the hotline. Let us know if you poop with the door open with other people in the house, and specifically
care.
family. I hope you don't do it with
Don't tell us.
strangers or extended family.
This
No,
is a
hit the hotline
one-person problem.
502-830-9195. I want to know if you and a loved one poop with the door open.
Call John directly. Do not call us.
Leave a message.
Yeah.
Leave a voicemail
don't
exactly
care.
for him.
This is John's problem. He needs help for it. Don't call the hotline.
Well, I guess we're
It
putting.
It is. I'm sorry. It is funny to me that you shut the door more when you're by yourself than
That's a
when
problem.
she's home. Like, again, if you were by yourself and the door's open, no judgment. But
Yes,
man, I just can't. Maybe it's just a me. Maybe it's. I don't know. I can't do it.
It's an everybody thing.
So far,
except
I'm
John.
outnumbered, but this is why we need the hotline because I need
adamantly
supporters.
against it.
I think Biscuit just admitted that he or whoever just made that noise.
Yeah.
I think Biscuit will poop with the door open.
I'm talking to people without his attention, so he's trying to get my attention. So,
well, there we go. I don't know. I might have just made a fool of myself, but that's what we do here.
Yeah, you did.
So, to all those who listen,
that was super out of touch.
That's what
talk
we're here
out
for.
of touch.
See, last week we had me and Mitch. Dustin, I don't know if you
years.
listened, but me and Mitchell had a very wholesome conversation about Thanksgiving. Got into some, and sometimes Dustin and I get into serious topics too. But like, you never know what direction we're going to go. Sometimes we're going to confess things that are way out of line, and maybe today was one of those days. So, but Michael Rosenbaum does it, a celebrity. So I'll go ahead and at least I'm not the only person. But it just made me curious.
I don't even know who that is, Michael Rosenbaum.
He was he's most known for being in Smallville. He was Lex Luthor. The TV show Smallville.
This guy's from Indiana? That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know what town, but I think it's Southern Indiana. I think it's Scott.
Were you even alive for the launch of Smallville, John?
I've not seen it. I'm just familiar with it.
Okay.
Raised in Newburgh,
Indiana. That's where is that specifically? I've never been to Newburgh, I don't believe.
It's within the state borders of Indiana.
Newburgh's on the river.
Cool.
It's close to you. Probably in the same river you grew up in by not leaving the door or closing the door.
All right. Let's shut the toilet seat on that one.
Yeah,
right?
no wonder the river's so dirty, man. You're dirty down there in Southern Indiana.
All right, I'm gonna go into this one cold. I've got a sound bite I'm gonna play, and then we can just talk about what happens in these next 20 seconds.
Excuse me for a second.
Pops on the mic.
Stop all the booing, let these guys play. It's got no class. It's not who we are. Knock off the booing.
Pop telling the fans to lay off Kawhi Leonard.
So that was, for those of you who have not heard that or seen that clip, that was head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. He walked over, Gregg Popovich, by the way. I don't know why I didn't say his name. He walked over to the PA microphone as Kawhi Leonard was shooting free throws, who used to be on the Spurs, and the fans for the San Antonio Spurs were booing Kawhi Leonard as he was shooting free throws. And Gregg Popovich goes over to the microphone and gets mad at the fans for booing at him. And it was a very honest. It's funny. Anything Gregg Popovich does is funny to me. I don't know, maybe just because it's an old guy. Just he kind of says what he wants. He's kind of always been that way. But I feel like that clip pissed a lot of people off in the sports world, and I'm curious what your guys' thoughts on it.
I do want to add some color that I did remember him saying in the post-game press conference. He said the reason he did it is he knows how good Kawhi Leonard is, and he didn't want to do anything to make him mad, to awaken the beast or whatever, and Kawhi take over the game. That's why he said he did it.
That's fair.
But let's eliminate that part and talk about how dumb it is.
Just get rid of the context is what you're saying.
Let's take away I love this. Let's take away context here.
Look at the moment as it is and how dumb it is to tell fans to stop booing. As an avid booer of things I don't like, that it's one of the most – it's the biggest adrenaline rush you can have. Something you don't like and you just yell boo at it. Honestly, hilarious that that's a thing that humans do, but it's a rush. You need that as a fan, especially when your team is as bad as the Spurs are. You need a release. You need a release. Indiana fans, you feel me? Okay.
Real quick, you say it's funny how humans do this. It made me want to look up the origination, the origin, I guess, not origination of booing. Apparently, crowds have been booing since ancient Greece. There was a festival, the festival of Dionysia in Athens. The crowd would participate to vote on which tragedy they liked best, using shouts and whistles for plays that stunk. That is weird.
And they would also hiss. That used to be a thing. It's a good thing we're not hissing anymore.
Could you imagine? That'd be so weird.
You would
go straight to jail. You start hissing, you're straight to jail.
I just want to say that when Mitchell said that he is an avid booer of things that he doesn't like, I just imagine going through the drive-thru at Taco Bell, saying they're out of Gordita Crunches and just booing into the loudspeaker.
Oh, I love that.
100%. You got to let people know how you feel. And that's exactly a great way to do it.
I was angered, probably beyond a measure that I should be for my age, about when Pop took that microphone and said that. The context, if that's why he did it, then I get it. But, first of all, those are paying customers that pay your salary and everybody else's salary in the league. Number two, booing isn't offensive. If somebody's, if you are personally attacking someone or things like that, I don't like that aspect of it. But if you're just booing or yelling, I don't have a problem. What's the big deal? He's been in the league for 100 years. Get over it.
There's also Kawhi Leonard left the Spurs, I think, before John was born. He's been gone
no,
for
that's not true.
A long time.
Do you remember?
Still mad. That's a long time to be mad. He's been on 6 teams since he was on the Spurs.
I think I was in high school when he was with the Spurs.
No, it was before he was born.
No, I know you're exaggerating, but he was definitely. I was definitely in high school when he was with the Spurs. Now I got to double check though.
He was a pacer for about 11 seconds.
Yeah, right out of San Diego State.
And then we traded him for George Hill, which actually worked out pretty well. But Pacers might have a championship had they kept Kawhi, so we don't know.
He's only been with 3 teams, by the way. He was with the Spurs for 8 years.
Then the Raptors, then the Clippers. I know. It makes a better story when you say 6, okay?
Yeah.
Hey. Was that a pretty good impression?
No.
That was so. Who did he do that with? Hey.
That was it was some interview.
What are you saying? What is that?
Remember, you know what I'm talking about? He had a microphone in his hand, and he was. I don't know if it was
Fat Albert.
No, I guess that is kind of a Fat Albert impression, unintentionally. But there's a clip. You could even look it up because we have it as a soundbite.
Oh, Kawhi Leonard. He's laughing.
Yeah, it's the laugh.
Yeah, that's
that's what it is. Yeah,
I there's two different ones. That and then there's
he's a fun guy, and then he's talking. I think that's when he's addressing the crowd when he does that noise that you're attempting. He makes a lot of funny noises.
I'm doing a great job.
He hasn't played in like
no
2 years. You do a great job at everything, John.
That's right.
I hyped you up all last episode.
I know he did, and then he hyped me up after the episode.
Yeah,
he's off camera.
He's our Mr. Incredible. He's our Cal Ripken.
I can't.
He just shows up.
I can't handle all of.
He plays hurt.
Does whatever it takes. Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I break a nail. I'm out. I'm done.
That's right.
John, correct. Broken leg. I'm in. Respect it. Somebody's got to be that. It's probably not going to be me. So
John from the hospital bed coming in clutch.
Jerry Kill style.
Jerry Kill. What did he do?
He coached from a hospital bed.
I thought that was Hugh Freeze.
Oh, was it?
It was Hugh Freeze. Yeah, from
Jerry
across
Kill almost died.
Jerry killed.
That's a big. I'm gonna walk back what I just said. That's a big.
But he's not dead.
Misspoke.
You didn't say anything wrong.
Mistake.
It's not wrong. Yeah, it's not wrong, but happy he's alive. He was not trying to coach from the hospital bed. That was
what just happened. Oh, he glitched out.
He's back. Yeah, he's back. All right, what's next, John? These have been good.
What's next?
I like where you're starting.
Next, I've got. Why am I? I'm looking at so many different things. Okay, so this is a hot topic in the college football realm right now, and I'm going to read a tweet that our very own Mitchell Page put out into the open the other day.
I'm going to give a little plug. Some of my favorite stuff is on Twitter. I love Twitter. Or X now. If you listen to the show, we don't refer to it as
X.
Please
screw X.
Interact with my stuff on X. People are hilarious, and some of the replies I get to my stupid tweets, I think about all week, and they just make me laugh. So before he reads this is me reaching out to you, listener. Say funny stuff, because there's all kinds of funny stuff that's said to me, and it makes my whole week. Okay, I wanted to say that. Now continue.
Here we go. Mitchell's tweet. This was yesterday at the time of this recording. Is it possible to be in the transfer portal without doing a post thanking your family, friends, neighbors, teachers, pets, fans, landlords, scientists, etc.? These posts are cliche machines, and bravo to whoever did the first one, trendsetter. Mitchell, you want to elaborate?
Yeah, these posts are hilarious, and everyone makes them. There are some kids that I've seen, and this is obviously I have a close relationship to Indiana, so people probably thought I was talking mostly about Indiana. I was. But there are a lot. I mean, every school, there's a kid that's never played that says, with my 4 years of eligibility left, the coach didn't play me this year. I'm going to transfer to nowhere. And they put their name in the portal and come right back to school. It just is. I don't know when people started thinking that they're owed something. College football particularly, because of the transfer portal and, oh, the coach didn't like me in the first year, didn't know my name. People didn't know who I was at Indiana really for 3 years. Did you battle it out? I don't understand. And I get it, with a new coach, you're quote unquote protecting yourself or whatever it is, but there's just no toughness. It's where can I go get a bunch of money? And obviously, go get your money. I think the players deserve the money, but the way that college football is now cannot be sustainable. I mean, think about
here's one thing I'll say.
Coach. Oh my gosh.
I agree with how cliche and silly it is. And granted, these are college students, and I can't say how I would react in their situation because I was never a college athlete, and I would have been if I was a college athlete coming up in the time where this was a thing to do. So I don't know how I would have handled it. Honestly, I don't know if I ever would have transferred, but I definitely would have done one of those cool little announcement videos where I do the hat or whatever. I would have done that for sure if I was that good. I was never going to be that good.
Do one of those.
If I was.
Loved it.
One thing that I will defend the players on for doing this, though, again, I guess it's not really an excuse for over exaggerating it, but it is a good way to kind of just put it out there and say, hey, I'm going in the transfer portal. I want people to retweet this and like it and see it so they know I'm going to be in the transfer portal so coaches will reach out to me. That's the one thing that I will say is, I guess, one way to make it justifiable, I guess.
I don't necessarily disagree with your point there, but I feel like Mitchell's bigger point is that there's too many kids entering the transfer portal. And
yeah,
this is what I'll say too. Again, I know I bring this up a lot. I don't like to because it's not really comparable, but I did play sports in college and I wasn't very good my freshman year. And I did want to trade. Like I just wanted to quit and transfer out, not play anywhere else, just go somewhere else. Like I think when you're away from home for the first time, if you're away from home, if you're away from family, it's really, really easy. And to just want to throw it in and look at everything that bad is happening to you and go somewhere else, go closer to home, go somewhere where you think you can play right away, whatever the case might be. And I don't put a lot of, ultimately it's on the player because he's making that decision, but also the NCAA and these schools are not setting these kids up for success. Because when you are like, again, that was the first time I was away from home and I was only like an hour away. And I was like, this is done. I don't have very many friends. I'm not playing. We have to work out every single day. School's hard. I just wanted to transfer back, go home. And, like Mitchell always says, right? Like, I just wanted my mom, right? You just want your mom. She's going to tell you everything's fine. She's going to do your laundry. She'll make your dinner, whatever the case might be. So I think that the NCAA and these schools and everybody else has just made it too easy and they don't have to go through these tough situations. Like if you're a third-year player, like if you're a third-year quarterback and you're not going to play and you're like, you know what, I'll just go to whatever, Kent State, but you're on your way to a degree or you've already earned your degree, then I get it. But you can't let kids transfer after 1 year because they're going to be faced with so much adversity in their life and it's not setting them up for success. So that's where the statements don't bother me. I think they're funny because they, as Mitchell said, they thank everybody next to God. But I don't think you're setting kids up for success unless they have to go through some sort of difficulty. And not every situation is the same. Sometimes it is a good idea to transfer after your freshman year for whatever reason. I don't know, but I'm sure there's certain circumstances. There's always an outlier. But just generally speaking, we're not in a good situation because kids are going to, if they think, that's why you have kids that are transferring 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. I actually, to be honest, I have less of a problem with the actual transfer portal and like being able to one-time transfer. Okay. Like expecting, so I'm going to kind of go against what you were just saying a little bit there.
Okay.
Because
I like it.
Expecting an 18-year-old that really doesn't know anything to pick a college, especially with how business-like college football specifically has become, in a lot of other sports as well, to make a decision and a commitment to 4 years to a school is tough. And a lot of kids make the wrong choice. I would say probably most make the wrong choice. So having the option to one-time transfer, okay. I have a problem. First of all, thinking that the posts are necessary. The posts are so infuriating to me. I cannot even tell you. I'm going to counter John here. College football coaches are not looking on Twitter to find players. They're not. There's an actual portal where you put your film where the coaches recruit you.
But I'm talking about it as like a beacon, like, oh, this guy's going to be in it. Because again, it's not even open yet, correct?
These coaches already know. They know 1,000 years before it hits Twitter. They know. It's their job to know. All they do is live, sleep, breathe, eat football. Like, this is it. They spend 15 hours a day in these places, and they're not just drawing up plays the whole time. They're looking for players mostly. They have scouting reports on definitely every kid on every team that they play that year, and probably a running list of like 50 schools that are, especially now, in the same kind of bracket as them. They've got where they grew up, where they were recruited, how many offers did they have they done anything at the school. They're not looking to Twitter. Twitter is 100% attention grab, look at me, I'm leaving. That's why I have the problem with it. And they're all so dumb. Whoever started writing them, I cannot believe they use that as a template. They're so dumb. After much prayer and deliberation with my family, you did not talk to God or your family once. You just decided that it's time for you to leave for no reason. And so that's my problem. But when you get a little deeper into the transfer portal, it just is. I didn't have that. It was right after I got there, similar to you, Dustin. So you didn't have the same kind of options. But there's John definitely would have had it because he's like
the transfer portal. The one-time transfer began during COVID, in high school? Right?
Yeah.
No, it'd be what?
John wants to be so cool like us, Mitchell, that he.
That's the theme of my episode is John is a baby.
John wants to be
so a grown man.
Yeah. John wants to be so cool and fit in with me and Mitchell that we weren't transfer portal Eric.
Yeah, he was in the era. He was NIL.
No, I left school basically the moment this became a thing, or right before it became a thing.
No, you were younger.
That's okay.
But it's more of an overarching question about the world. Like, when did it become? And I fall victim to it too. I just ask people to interact with me on Twitter, so I'm kind of doing the same thing. When did it become all about me? I spent a lot of dark hours in the weight room, in the indoor facility with Danny Dunn. Shout out Danny Dunn. Love that guy. You guys probably never heard of him. He never played it down at Indiana. He was a walk-on wide receiver from Carmel. That kid was the hardest working guy I've ever met. Definitely could have played Division II, Division III ball, just maybe wasn't quick enough. But we spent hours and hours in the darkness before you get your chance. And a lot of kids just miss that. As soon as the going gets tough, there's no tough gets going, if that makes sense. That used to be a little dumb cliche.
Well, let me ask you this, Mitchell, or I'll go and ask mine, and then Dustin, you can go. Was there ever a point where I guess it's hard to put yourself in this position because you never had this option physically, but was there ever a point, whether it be at the beginning of your career or after you started, once you got your scholarship and things were going better for you, even though you weren't playing for an elite team or program, was there ever a moment where you thought, wow, I want to go somewhere else and do this, or I could go play for someone else better, but I don't want to have to sit out a year kind of thing, because that was what you had to do back then?
For football, no. But there was a time after my third season, I had gotten passed up by a guy that I thought I was way better than, and dropped down to the bottom of the depth chart kind of out of nowhere. Spent the whole third season going to every game, traveling to every game. Not everybody does that. You're technically part of the group of guys that may play if you go to away games. I went to every game and never saw the field. And after my third year, I was done. I was transferring. I was ready to go. I had packed up my locker, but I was going to go play golf. So that was going to be a little different option. And that was more along the lines of what Dustin was talking about. I had done this for 3 years. I had my opportunities, and I felt like I had made the most of them in practice. Had good springs, had good falls, and it just wasn't happening. And it felt like it was just never really going to happen. So I was out of there. I was going to Arizona State, and then had a couple things go on. Namely, the funniest one is, while I was trying to decide what I wanted to do, I was going to have to walk on and try out. I wasn't a Division I level golfer, but I had some game. So I was thinking, let me just check out, what the top 5 guys are doing. And Arizona State is historically a pretty good program. Not sure how familiar you guys are with golf and who's number 1, 2, 3 in the world right now. But when you looked at their scores all year, they had a guy by the name of John Rahm on the team. And he won 1 million tournaments. And then 2 years or 3 years after we graduated, he's the same year as me. he was just number one in the world. So it felt like maybe him and I were on a little bit different levels. I thought, you know what? Maybe we should stick with football a little longer, because if I go to Arizona State, I'm just going to be really hot and watching John. There were some other things that happened that are for another day, but yeah, man, I felt that. It's not easy. And that's why I think the transfer portal can be okay. It's hard to make the right decision when you're 18. Was going to Indiana the right decision for me? Eventually, yes. But when you look back, no. I had no business playing there. So it just there's for some kids it doesn't work. I got lucky, got a chance, and made the most of it. For a lot of kids that doesn't happen. And so getting to make the most of the talent that you have, I'm not against the portal. I'm just so avidly against the posts. The posts make me want to die. They're so bad.
I think part of the problem, though, is I don't know if it's one particular player that started. I'm sure there was. But to me, it's like something that snowballed, because it started with things like ESPN, Big Ten Network, all these outlets that started broadcasting when kids would make their commitment. And then it did become about the individual player more than the program. Yep. And so now you've got all these different websites that rank kids based on stars, position groups. They make their special announcement on video or on TikTok or Twitter or live on ESPN or whatever the case might be. And I think there's probably some level of jealousy there from other players that maybe don't get that. And that's this doing those posts on Twitter, Instagram, wherever, is probably their way of getting that opportunity. I'm not saying it's right. That's just where my mind goes immediately when I think about why it's become such a popular thing. Like, well, if I don't do it, then nobody's going to be thinking about me.
That felt like an attack. Because now that I'm thinking about it, this is 100% just an old man yelling at the sky. Like, yeah, you kids, you don't know what it was like walking uphill both ways.
I don't think so. Like, I don't know. It's just I don't have a problem with the post. It's funny that you have more of a problem with the posts than the actual transferring, and I have a bigger problem with the transferring than I do the posts.
Yeah.
It's weird. I bet there's a lot of kids, and maybe we've already said this. We've talked a lot about it.
Like you?
There's a lot of guys, like me.
Little baby kids.
Because I'm 6.
Little John?
Yeah. There's a lot of people who, and again, I don't want to just assume things, but I guess that's what I'm doing. I feel like there's a lot of players that know that they're not highly touted, and they go to these programs, and they already have it in their head, like, well, if I don't see the field, I'm just gonna leave, and I'm going to. Maybe they may have even had these posts pre-made after they've made their commitment. Like, hey, go ahead and make me a transfer portal graphic as well, just in case this doesn't work out for me. Maybe, and again, that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but I guarantee you there is at least some form of, or at least some amount of players that already have in their head, I might transfer after 1 year if I don't see the field.
Well, I don't think you're wrong, but I think another issue is so I know that you guys are IU guys, but I'm going to reference this Matt Painter comment, because when he talks about Zach Edey's development, he had only played a couple years of organized basketball when he went to Purdue, and he said he didn't come with a lot of the crap that a lot of the kids come with, which is people telling him how good he was. He had never heard that, so it wasn't like he felt entitled. He felt like he had to work hard to earn, even though he's 7'4", to get on the floor, to get playing time at a big-time university. And I think that a lot of these players do come from places where they're probably praised a lot. They're probably the best player or one of the top 2 or 3 players on their team, and now they're playing with guys where they're the last player. Everybody's the best player. Not only that, but now every game is televised. So if you see one freshman playing for USC or 2 or 3 freshmen that are really, really good because they're one of the top 5 players in the country, and you're like, why am I not doing that at Michigan State? Like, we're not as good. I should be on the field. I think you just compare yourself to what you see and think you are that good. And so then that creates some sort of complex. It's just a brave new world. Like in the 90s and 2000s when not every game was on, or you'd have to pay, like you could get really crappy BTN. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it wasn't as much of a problem, but now you can see everything and you just constantly are getting bad information. And you just think the grass is always greener. And I can't wait. There's going to be a study at some point when there's going to be like the number of kids that transfer from an FBS school down to like a G5 or an FCS or Division II. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but is that really what they envisioned? Because sometimes it is. Like, you know what? I thought I was going to be a great player at Indiana. I'm going to go actually play at Ball State. And I just want to play. I just want to get I want to have a shot to get on the field. Right? Like, if that's all you care about, then that's great.
Or there's the flip side of this too, where like if you're, let's say you go to a small school like Western Kentucky and you feel like you were just kind of, under recruited, and you go and ball out and ahead of time, like, I'm just going to use this as a springboard to go play for somebody like in the SEC or the Big Ten. There's a positive, I don't want to say positive, but like there's the, I guess, more positive results aspect of I'm going to use this for a different kind of gain as well.
Yeah. Well, all you're seeing now is any school that's not in the Big Ten and the SEC. And we kind of talked about this on our recap pod, John, on Sunday that I think was released yesterday, whenever it was released. But everything is, there are two pyramids building in college football, especially. And this has been a big college football discussion. I know this isn't a college football podcast, but
it's still topical though for what's going on right now.
There's
transfer season.
Two pyramids building. One of them is the Big Ten Conference, and one of them is the SEC. And the big teams in those two conferences are going to be at the peak. Every other team is going to be down the pyramids, but on the pyramids. And everyone else in every other conference is going to get exactly what happens in your Western Kentucky example. Kids are going to go to Western Kentucky and hope they can make it on the pyramids. And that's where everything's going to go. And those schools are just going to get kind of what happens to Indiana sometimes when they have a good player. Somebody of these bigger schools comes and poaches them. And that's just going to happen. Everybody's trying to get to the top of the pyramids. It'll continue to happen to Indiana until we put out a formidable force in football. It'll happen to Illinois. It'll happen to some of the lower teams in the SEC. And it'll definitely happen to the teams that don't make it in those two conferences. And that just kind of sucks.
So what you've just presented, though, is that this is all just college football is a pyramid scheme, and we're all buying into it.
I love it. I think about it all the time. But this is kind of a funny thought. Do you think, and this can go a couple different ways, like let's say I'm a really good player from middle of nowhere, Indiana. I know that I'm kind of fast, but maybe not fast enough. I'm kind of big, but maybe not big enough, kind of strong, maybe not strong enough. But, and how all these offers work, if you get one big offer, you get 10. Like all these schools just see you offered them. Let me offer them 2. How many kids like that, maybe don't really like football, are going to the biggest school they can, attaching their name to that school, getting that experience, going to practice, maybe don't even really want to play, and then are just going to bounce around because they've now attached their name to Ohio State. Oh, this kid's an Ohio State transfer. He must be really good. Now he can go transfer to Auburn or Georgia or something like that, and he just gets these sick college football experiences. Do you think, how many kids do you think are doing that? Like as a forward thinker, he knows, maybe I don't like this sport, but imagine the stories I'm going to have when I go to 4 programs in 4 years and at all different levels.
I'm not going to name a name, but people can look this up, and I'm pretty sure if you're an average college football fan, you'll probably know who I'm talking about. There was a player who went from Ohio State, was not a very good quarterback, then played at Miami, was not a very good quarterback, made a switch to wide receiver, and then I think he went to UNLV or Nevada. He went to 3 schools. So, like, I think it's – I don't know if maybe he loves football. Maybe it just didn't work out at any of those schools. But it definitely happens to where, oh, this kid's an Ohio State transfer. This kid's an Alabama transfer. He's a USC. And then all of these – I don't think there's any sort of I'm sure there's some sort of homework that goes on, but it's like you said, like somebody told me how a lot of the recruiting stuff works where you have 300 kids that you're going to offer.
Dude.
You can't look at all of them. It's just going to be, oh, Purdue offered? Well, we've got to offer.
Yeah.
Oh,
this kid is big, fast, strong. He's got this many offers. Offer him. I don't care what his name is. Whatever. We can justify missing on a 6'5", 245-pound defensive end.
right.
That's why. That's why everybody looks. Everyone that stinks on a team is probably somewhere between 6'3", 6'5", and maybe a little undersized for their position. That is like every kid that doesn't work out, that's on scholarship, that the teams try to run off. That's what that kid looks like. And they probably watched like 5 seconds of film, saw him in person. Oh, wow, you're pretty big. Maybe we should offer you a scholarship. That's college football recruiting 101. It's awesome.
There you have it. Any closing thoughts on this before we wrap this thing up and put a nice pretty bow on it?
College football heavy.
It was.
It was, yeah, a lot, especially the last 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, sorry to people that don't like college football. I was probably making your eyes bleed.
It's okay.
Once we close,
or ears, I guess.
We're all over.
Close the door on John's bathroom.
Yeah, so we've gone from pooping with the door open to the transfer portal, and it very seamlessly, if I might.
That may be the Indiana football coaching search. Pooping with the door open.
My gosh.
You think about it.
Imagine Scott Dolson on the phone with, I don't know, whoever.
I don't want to think about names. I didn't have any names in my head.
John, I didn't want to think about Scott Dolson on the phone in this situation.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I had no image, and now I have an image.
There you go.
And now he's playing me out.
That's right. We're playing everything out. It's the end of the episode.
That's the funniest way that you tell me to shut up. I love it.
Thanks for tuning in. Remember to hit the hotline 502-830-9195 and tell us, without Mitchell listening, tell us if you poop with the door open or not. Also subscribe. Thanks for listening to this episode. We'll talk to you next time.